Hello to everybody who's taking the internship course. Again, this is John Foubert, and I wanted to talk to you this week about ethics. And we will have a discussion on our discussion board about ethics in the workplace. And it's something that I think is critical for us to talk about because honestly, one of the things I see a lot of new professionals do is get into a workplace and then be really surprised about the unethical behavior that's occurring there and wondering, is it only happening here? And other times, new professionals sort of stumble into a situation, they act in a way that's unethical, but they don't really realize it at the time. So I thought that ethics would be worth our discussion this week so we can talk through those. Every seasoned student affairs staff member, I think, has some stories to tell about unethical behavior that they saw. I'll only give you a little bit here, but it might help to set the context for why we would even talk about ethics. I do remember that early in my career, I was in an office where I was working in residence life, and I had a peer. There were two of us who managed different parts of campus. And I being the new person, he being the older, more experienced person, looked to him for some um, not necessarily guidelines, but looking for, how does the office function, that sort of thing. And I slowly began to realize that through looking at the office culture and through looking at his behavior, that he was acting in some ways that were not consistent with what one might call professional ethics. In several of the discussions that we would have in staff meetings, he would talk about something that happened where I had also been present, and he talked about it in a way that was completely inconsistent with my recollection. So in the beginning, I thought there was something wrong with my memory, or I didn't quite get it. And then I realized that he was consistently saying things to our boss and his boss um, that weren't true. And it took me a while to realize that because I was like, surely that didn't happen, but indeed it did. My favorite, if we can call it that, favorite story about that individual was that he took a group of alcohol peer educators, alcohol, a group that educates fellow students about alcohol, to a conference once that was a couple states away, and they all took a van. And while driving in the van, he consumed alcohol with them, including those who were underage in the van. There are just too many levels to that, perhaps, to even count. But it became clear that there was some problems with ethics in that situation. So, and sometimes they're not as cut and dry. Sometimes they're much more subtle, particularly about whether people are doing what's best for an individual student. Because there certainly can be different ethical principles that we'll look to guide our behavior. Sometimes policy, sometimes the law, that sort of thing. But are we doing right by the student? And it certainly doesn't mean are we doing what the student wants, not at all. But are we doing right by them? Are we really doing what's best for them, or are we just trying to keep an institution out of the papers or free from being sued, that sort of thing? So I do think that it's very important for us to deal with ethical issues in the workplace. I look forward to hearing about some of the ethical issues you've seen come up. They may be subtle, they may be overt. Obviously, please change names and that sort of thing because we don't want to out anybody here. But I'm guessing at some point in your internship, you've noticed, that doesn't look so right. So let's talk about that in the hopes that we can talk it through and you can learn to be prepared in the future for when those inevitable ethical flubs actually occur. Let's have a great week. Thanks.